my besties, Kareema Cockrell here, as we talk about navigating adult friendships. Hi, Kareema.
Hey, girl.
How you
doing?
feeling?
I'm feeling great.
You're looking fabulous. I love this.
Thank you.
But I expect nothing less from you.
I'm just trying to be like you, girl.
You know, it's funny when you're a kid. Having friendships is one way, but when you become adults and then life be lifing, girl, and we get busy, and some people get married and have kids, and you have these shifting dynamics, and it can be sometimes a little challenging navigating the friendships.
Definitely.
How do you manage navigating your friendships when you have so much going on with your life?
Well, I would have to say one of my girlfriends has two kids, and I've had to learn that I'm not a priority in her life. And, it was one of those things where sometimes I would call her and she wouldn't get back to me, and I would call her again like, girl, did you get my phone call? And, she would just be like, yeah, but I was busy. So I had to really put myself in people's shoes and get out of my own way.
Because sometimes with our friendships, we want our friends to be available.
Yes.
And we can get a little selfish.
Yes,
we want them to be there. It's kind of like with you and me. Like, we've been friends. Oh, my gosh. We've been friends for over 15 years.
Has it been that long?
And even though we don't talk all the time.
Right.
But it's like we just pick right back up where we left off.
Definitely.
Do you find being older, it's not being like young kids when I say older, not that we're old, but do you feel like it's more challenging creating friendships and meeting new people and building friendships when you're an adult?
I do, because I don't know if everybody's definition of friendship is the same. I'm definitely, how they say, the ride or die chick. Like, if I'm in, like, you're my friend. Like, if you call me at 3 a.m. in the morning,
that's how I am,
with a flat tire, whether I want to get out of my bed or not, you my girl. So I got to come and rescue you. And I think, you find sometimes, and it's saddening, that you have a lot of fair weather friends. When everything is okay, then everything is okay. But when you start to have some dilemmas, people fall by the wayside. And so it's been a bittersweet thing, learning how people navigate friendships as adults.
It can be challenging. I definitely believe as we get older, our circle of friends gets smaller. They may decrease in size, but increase in value. And I have to admit, sometimes I'm singing a Drake song. I don't need no more new friends. But then there are those times when I may want to, like, have some girlfriend time. And because my circle is so small, my friends may not be available. How do you deal with the friendships that are long distance?
That are long distance. To be honest with you, I don't have a lot of long distance friends. I mean, to be honest with you, you can have long distance friends in the DMV, because some of my friends can be an hour away from me.
True, like
like you. But it's all good. But I wanted to say also about the friendship, that I put people in, like, the friendship mode, and then there's a sub friendship. It's like the ones who are like the people you can call on, and then the ones that you just kick it with every now and then. So it depends on where they fall, in that category.
I used to have a friend, and on the party scene, when I partied a lot, you never saw one without the other. And people thought, excuse the expression, they thought we were like titty tight.
I never heard of that.
And I said, well, you know what? We don't talk about each other's personal lives.
Right.
Like, she doesn't really know what's going on in my life. I don't really know. We are the party friends.
Right.
And as you are an adult, you have friends who fit certain categories.
You're like, this is the person I go to the mall with.
Yes.
Because one of my girlfriends, she hates the mall. And this is the person I hang out with. And this is the person I can tell anything I want to. And I can cry on her shoulders, and she's not going to judge me.
Right. Gives you that safe space.
Yes.
And we all need that kind of friend.
Yes.
What do you do when you've been friends with somebody for a long time, but the friendship is toxic? Like, because you have to break up with friends, like you have to break up with, the people you're in a relationship with. How do you handle the breakups and friendships? do you ghost them or do you have the conversation? Do you just wean off of it?
You know, if the conversation comes up, you have the conversation, unless it's bothering you. For me, if it's bothering me emotionally, I feel like I need to talk about it and then release it. But I will definitely kind of remove myself. You know, it's almost like breaking up with a guy.
Yeah.
Like, y'all stop calling each other more and more, and then you be like, we still doing something or not? So it's the same thing, because sometimes people can be very sensitive and you don't know how to let them know in a nice way, you're not good for me. You know, we're not a good fit. And, you know, so I kind of, if the conversation comes up, I'll have it. But like I said, if it's bothering me and it's heavy on my heart, I will bring up the conversation.
I think sometimes it's easier for me to tell a guy this relationship is not working than it is for me to tell a girlfriend this relationship is not working. And I don't know what that's about. And sometimes I will just ghost them. I have to admit, don't judge me, but I will ghost them because it's a conversation that I struggle with. Even though I think I'm a great communicator, it's just something about that type of conversation that's very difficult for me.
We're women, and we don't want to hurt another woman. You know, we know the emotional up and down and how, you know, around our emotions can get. So just being a woman and having to have that conversation with another woman, you're like, I don't know how she's going to take this. And then sometimes you do know how they're going to take it, and you don't want that antagonistic conversation. You just want to have a real adult conversation, but you have to be an adult and to have an adult conversation with another adult, quote unquote. So it depends on their level of maturity. On, you know. And
that's a good point. Like, there are some people I may not have talked to in a while, for whatever reason, because again, life be lifing.
Right.
And when I call them, the first thing I don't want to hear out of your mouth is, well, where have you been? Or they give me attitude because I really don't want to talk to you because I'm trying to have a very nice friendship
especially with social media. They'll be like, oh, I see you when you ain't called me when you went to the Roots concert or something like that. You know what I'm saying? So social media tell all your business.
If you put it out there.
If you put it out there. So then if your friend is sensitive to that, they'll be like, well, why didn't you call me when you went to the party here, there? You know, so it can be a lot sometimes. You know.
It can be very challenging.
Yeah.
And, you know, for those of us who don't have kids and those of us who don't have a spouse, you know, sometimes when we have those friends who are married or have kids, it's also kind of challenging. Like, I've had friends who are married and they'll like invite you over, but then you know it's going to be a whole bunch of other married people, and you don't want to be the single person with the married people.
I definitely get it. I went to one of my clients, I do hair, and I went to his house, and it was so coupley. I was just like, is there a single brother in the house? I just, you know, and I felt so awkward, you know, so it is one of those things where it's almost like, you know, I get it. You want to find friends on your level a little bit, but you don't want to isolate the ones who have kids or who have a husband. So, and I do have another set of friends. Two were married, one was single, and I was single, and we would make time. And it was funny because it will always be the married one who'd be like, okay, when are we going to have brunch? When are we going to have a girl? So you have to have that friend who wants that as well. Because some people, they're like, no, I'm doing family, and period, you know. And some people, they understand you need friendship and you need family time, and then they balance it out in a more holistic perspective. You know?
Yeah. And you also have to be intentional about keeping those friendships going. But you can't be the only one
trying to make the friendship work.
Like, I'm trying to, you know, hang out with you, spend time with you, make this friendship work, but you're not giving me anything back. In those type of situations, it's not toxic. It's just that they're no longer making themselves available, whether they're married or not married, kids or not kids. How do you deal with that if you're trying to make time for a friend and they're just not making themselves available?
You know, it's like, am I bothering you?
Mm-hmm.
You know, because I always feel like people make time for what they want to make time for.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm always the one making, you know, initiating us spending time together, then I feel like you really, it's not on your agenda.
Mm-hmm.
So you have more important things to do, and you can have more important things to do.
Mm-hmm.
Now I know, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because you can get in your feelings and you can get hurt like that. Because you're like, I thought we were cool, you know, but it gets that way. I have been a little, like when I've gotten a boyfriend out of the blues before, it's easy to get caught up in not spending so much time with your girlfriend. But eventually you get back on, you know, on the hamster wheel, you know, you get back into your routine. But some people, they just dive into it and just never go back to it. But yeah, if it's ever somebody that I'm trying to spend time with and they don't want, you start to feel like, all right, cool, you know, but you can get a little salty on the side, you know, you feel like, all right, but you move on, you know, you move on. And like you said, it's about finding people who have the same interests as you. So for me, I know at one point, back in the day, I don't know if it's still happening, but I would do like the meetup.coms. I would go on
they still have those.
Social media pages, and I will find places where people are doing things in my age group, whether it's like getting together to play, you know, kickball or going to a club or going to a cooking class. I would just start to do other things, you know, instead of trying to just wait on this one friend to be present for me, you know.
And I heard that, well, I actually saw that Bumble has a BFF option.
Really?
Where you can find BFF. But what's funny is a couple of years ago, one of my college girlfriends was in town. She lives in Houston. And we were going to an Omega party. And we ran into this young lady because she parked where we parked. And we didn't want her to walk by herself.
Right.
And she was meeting up with a girl that she met on Craigslist because they had an option to find friends, people you want to do something similar. And I was like, wait, y'all became friends off of Craigslist?
Oh my God.
So it's interesting when when you reference the meetups that there's so many other sites that do that too. They have the options of you're looking for someone who may want to go to concerts or somebody who, may want to still, party or whatever, because it's more challenging as adults. As kids, we made friends easily. We didn't really care about those things. But as adults,
we're in trouble when we got to go online to find friends. Oh my God. Wow. God help us all.
I know, right?
Wow.
But what would you say to somebody who's in their 20s now and they, friendships are a little different when you're in your 20s because you're still partying, you have this. But as you get older, what would you say to them about navigating adult friendships?
I would say give people space. It's not all about just your friendship. People are navigating their careers. They may say, I want to go back to school. They may have had a child. We're still in 20s. You may be dating. It's so many things that can happen. Just give people enough room to be your friend and to come around when they can. And you do the same, be a friend, to that person as well, but don't
take it personal.
Yeah, don't take it personal. Don't put so much pressure on them to be your friend.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah. And I would say the same thing, as you get older, if you, go from your 20s to your 30s to your 40s to your 50s, life is different.
Yes.
And so the expectation sometimes is that the friendships are going to stay the same.
Yes.
But life in general doesn't stay the same from 10-year increments.
Yes.
So definitely, understand that people need space sometimes. Understand that however they're showing up, unless they've told you so, unless something bad has happened, then their behavior is not perfect. And also keep in mind, people are fighting battles every single day that no one knows anything about. I know my life gets crazy busy and I have to go on Do Not Disturb. Wow. And that doesn't mean that it's personal. It just means that for my own self-care, for my own mental health, I need to have those days that I disconnect from people. And I think as we grow in our friendships as we mature in age, if we understand that and give people that space, I think it'll work out just fine.
And I'm speaking because I was that person. One of my girlfriends that we moved out of state together, I just was like, you know, we're friends, we do everything together. And she had kids and she was moving differently. And I was just like, well, what are you doing? We don't do that. And I had to say, you know, she's a whole other person. You know, she doesn't owe you anything, you know, so it was
and we can get territorial.
We can get territorial.
I'm guilty
but
of
I was single and she had kids. So when you have children, that is your priority. When you're single, you got all this idle time. You're like, girl, so are you going to go to this concert? And she's like, well, are you going to find me a babysitter? We don't think about those things. No. We don't think about our friends who have kids, the things that they may have to navigate with their children. We just want to do what we did, you know, party and drop it like it's hot, like we always did. So yeah, definitely I had to learn myself. Yeah,
it's an adjustment for me too. But this has been a great conversation. I want to thank you for taking the time to have this conversation and navigating adult friendships, because as great friends, we're navigating our friendship.
Exactly.
As well. So I want to thank you all for tuning in to Nicole L.Turner Show, and stay tuned for what's to come next. This is good. Because so many people, you know, they deal with this adult friendship stuff.
Right. And even with us, like when you, like you're, like I said, you're an hour away, and
we're not really an hour away.
Well, you know,
from DC to Waldorf, it's not that far.
You know, people say that all the time.
They call it Wakanda, but it's not
45
Wakanda.
minutes is the hour. You know, people just push it up to an hour. So, you know, but we've had to learn that it's, you know, when we get together, it's all good. You know, so
we don't skip a beat. It's because we got love. You my sister. We love each other.
It's all good.
It's all good.